All right, what's up guys? Before we get into this review, I just wanted to let you know that Pickleball Will is actually going to be doing the majority of this review. At the beginning of the year, I had the idea to try and help me keep up with paddle reviews that I would have Will start helping me, have him do the bulk of a review, and then I'll just share some thoughts on the paddle. And then he started getting into paddle reviews more, and I told him, dude, you should totally just do this for your own channel, and I'm probably just gonna hire an editor. So yes, you're gonna see a lot of Will in this video, then you'll see me at the end. But this is probably the only time we'll do this because, you know, Will's growing and crushing it. So just wanted to let you guys know that before we get into this review.
All right, this is the Revo Pure Control. While pickleball is growing at an unprecedented pace, we may not be thinking about the problems that face pickleball's future from a sustainability standpoint, and that is Revolin's claim to fame. Revolin is a small company based out of Holland, Michigan, and they are trying to tackle that very problem without sacrificing performance and bringing a little style to the courts. Now, I am no environmental scientist, nor am I an investigative journalist, so don't take what I say here as gospel. All the information I'm providing here to you is from Revolin's website and from the talks that I had with the Revolin team. So if you want to do your own due diligence and feel so inclined to get your Clark Kent on, by all means, reach out to Revolin and ask them any questions you may have and tell them that the Daily Planet sent you. Speaking of Planet, Revolin also works with One Tree Planted, which is a non-profit organization that plants one tree for every paddle purchased from Revolin. One of the many ways Revolin is supporting its sustainability efforts. So what makes these paddles sustainable? Well, currently 60% by weight is made sustainable, 20% is renewable, and 40% is recyclable. They also said that they source 80% of their materials from US suppliers. Revolin said that they are diligently working on increasing these numbers, but that increasing these numbers is one of the most challenging problems they are facing, second only to increasing Chris's 3.5 rating. Now, the one number that they didn't have any issues with is the fact that all their paddles are designed, manufactured, and assembled here in the United States, America. Before we move on to the rest of the review, here are a few specs from the Revolin Pure Control. It has a 5.25 inch handle length, a 4.25 inch grip circumference. The swing weight is 108, which means it's on the lower side and pretty easy to swing. It is a 16 millimeter thick polymer core. The average weight comes in at 7.7 ounces to 8.3 ounces. You do have the option for $8 more to get an exact weight ranging from 7.5 ounces up to 8.5 ounces. So first, let's go over build construction. So overall, the paddle is built very solid, but there is definitely room for improvement, mainly in the handle area, which I will get to in a little bit. I want to focus on the face of this paddle right now, as it is made out of their patent-pending BioFlex material. Side note, I'm a big fan of this design and like the blues and the greens and the earthy tones and the colors. I think it really fits into their overall aesthetic and brand and style. Now back to the face, the BioFlex combines multiple layers of super strong woven fibers derived from plants, specifically flax and hemp. Now I know what you guys are thinking, and no, you can't smoke it. A fun fact is that I think they got asked this so much that question is actually on their FAQ page on their website. And they have specifically engineered a resin system to create a biocomposite face that they claim is stronger than fiberglass and more forgiving than carbon fiber and naturally vibration dampening.
So this is your fiberglass composite, and this is your graphite or your carbon fiber composite. So every paddle today has this on their surface, except ours. So this is our BioFlex material. So these are made from the strongest plant fibers in the world, similar to a bamboo fiber. And watch what you see here when we spring them up.
Wow.
So you see it's still moving. So it's actually 3 times more vibration dampening than fiberglass.
I think where the construction can improve on is definitely the handle area. The butt cap uses this rubber piece right here with the nipple, and I'm just really not a big fan of it. This piece just makes the handle feel a little cheap, along with this bulge right here, which is supposed to actually strengthen this point in the paddle, because this is typically a weak point in a lot of paddles right here. It's honestly not that big of a deal for me, and it really doesn't affect your play at all, or my play at least. It's just kind of an eyesore. Another personal issue for me is the shape of the handle, which is unfortunately more rounded. Now, I prefer a more octagonal grip, as I think it helps you maneuver the paddle in your hand better. I did, however, speak with the team at Revolin, and they are in the process of fixing these issues. And here is an actual video of the new handle piece they are developing for their paddles. Fun fact, I was told that you can actually go to Revolin HQ in Michigan and actually see them assemble these paddles in person, if that's something that you're into. So these handles are not that bad, but much improvement can be made here, which of course they are currently working on. However, these paddles come with a premium price tag of $190. And with that premium price tag, I would expect a more premium feeling handle. Now for the premium price tag, does it get premium performance? And the short answer is no, but it ain't no slouch either. Now first let's talk about spin. Referring back to their BioFlex paddle material, and the face here actually has quite a decent amount of grit. The feel and the look is actually quite reminiscent of a Selkirk Vanguard 2.0, but with maybe a little bit more texture to the touch. Chris actually did an RPM test, and his RPM test shows that he got 1150, which is fairly low compared to the standards of today's paddles. I didn't personally do an RPM test, but I think I do get a little bit more spin than the Vanguard 2.0. I'd probably guess mine is somewhere around the 1200 to 1300 range. It definitely gets more spin than my Vanguard 2.0, but I would say that the spin is acceptable and mid-tier at best. For serves, returns, and drives, I'm getting more than enough to control my faster and heavier swings, but if I need to close the kitchen line and finish off a point, I feel confident that my shot will stay in with the amount of spin that I can generate. Now, if you don't know me, my thoughts on spin is that it's a little overrated. You just need enough RPMs so that you can control the power that you can generate with the paddle. I think where this paddle excels at is actually control and surprisingly power. Let's first talk about power. Now, this by no means is a power paddle, far from it, but I never felt like I was wanting or needing more power, especially if I was the aggressor and I was the one in control of the points. So for drives, serves, returns, volley, smashes, rolls, where you are on the offensive, the power is actually pretty decent for a control-orientated paddle. Now, don't get me wrong, it is nowhere near some of the raw carbon fiber paddles out on the market right now, but I would say it's more powerful than the Vanguard 2.0, the SLK Halos, maybe some of the Paddle Techs and the Diadem Warrior Edge. If you're familiar with those paddles, it's somewhere in that tier or maybe a little bit above those paddles within the same tier. In fact, the reason why I think it has decent power is because it has such good control that when I'm swinging really fast or going all out, I have the confidence that it will stay in, that I actually go for more on my shots. Speaking of control, this is where the Revo Pure Control really shines. On dinks, drops, and resets, it's very, very plush and absorbs pace really well. In fact, it does it so well that you may find that you need to give your shots a little extra push or lift just to get the height and depth that you're looking for in your shots when you're playing your short game in the no volley zone. Now, that may sound a little counterintuitive to what I just said about it having decent enough power, but the reason I believe for this is because the paddle does such a great job dampening the vibrations of the ball at impact that you kind of have to exaggerate some of your more finesse shots at the kitchen line. The sweet spot is nothing special and pretty standard in my eyes. If you hit near the edges, it sucks, but it doesn't feel like it sucks because the vibration dampening is so good. But trust me, it still sucks when you strike a ball near the edges of the paddle. I'd say that the sweet spot is on par with other similarly shaped paddles. Think the Vanguard Epic series and maybe some of the more traditional shaped Paddle Tech line. I would actually say that in fast hand exchanges, this is where the paddle performs at its best. Now I say this because if you're in control and you're initiating the speed ups, then the paddle provides you with enough power to put away your shots. At the very least, you have the control to put the ball where you want it and continue your advantage. Now, if you are on the receiving end of that fast hand exchange or speed up for that fact, then I think the paddle gives you enough confidence to really slow down the ball and reset and get yourself back in the point. So is it dope or nope? I'm gonna say it's dope. I think Revolin is doing some really cool and innovative things. It's also quite admirable that 100% of their designs and manufacturing and assembly is done here in the United States, America. I, for one, think that they perform well enough for me to actually go to a tournament and compete with. I'm also a person who doesn't mind paying a little bit more for a product, especially if I know it's made stateside. And if it's partially sustainable, all the better. It also comes with a limited 1-year manufacturer warranty. Now, when you're done with the paddle, Revolin will actually take the paddles back to either reuse, recycle, or repurpose, and they'll even send some of their older paddles to other pickleball programs, schools, clubs, and even other countries with an emerging pickleball community. Now, on the other hand, if performance is high on your priority list, then the price to performance needs to be addressed. Don't get me wrong, the Revo Pure Control performs great, and I would say probably better than average. Like I said before, I'd be pretty confident going to a tournament with it. But with the likes of Legacy, Carbon, Vatic, 6-0 coming out with better performing paddles and some of them at substantially lower prices, you really have to ask yourself, what are you paying for? At the very least, Revolin deserves your attention. Whether they deserve your dollars is entirely up to you. Support local businesses and support me by following me on my own personal channel, Pickleball Will, where I do paddle reviews and other pickleball related content. Till next time, play better. I'm out.
All right, hey guys, I just wanted to give you my thoughts on the Revolin paddle. Now, I will say I did not play with this paddle extensively. I have given it a few play sessions, but part of this review is I was letting Will do the bulk of the play testing, and then I would do a little bit less, but enough to give you my opinion on the paddle so that I could focus on some other reviews. With that being said, after a few play sessions with the Revolin, it's honestly in a bit of a tricky situation for me because I don't think the performance is bad. I actually like how the face feels when you're dinking, power-wise control. I like that. The spin is low. When you're below 1200 RPM, that really is not great, especially by today's standards when it's almost hard to go that low. So yes, spin is lacking on the paddle, which is a bit disappointing. And then you also have the price at $190. So I get torn because at $190, there are a lot of paddles you could choose from. You could choose from Legacy, you could choose Vatic, you could choose Yola, you could even go up to the new Carbons if you wanted to for $40 more. So while I don't think the paddle is bad, I think the Revolin isn't a very good value. My personal opinion is that when you're buying this paddle, you're not really buying it for the performance, you're buying it because of their mission with the sustainability and being USA made. So if those things are important to you, I think you will get an adequately performing paddle, but just know that the price you're paying isn't necessarily because of performance, and in my opinion, it's more for the sustainability and being made in the US. I found drops weren't too bad. I'm used to using a little bit more spin to get an aggressive drop, so I found that I was kind of lifting the ball and just floating the drop a little bit more. But it just felt kind of satisfying. I enjoyed playing with it, but I would not personally choose to go to a tournament with it. It's a paddle to me that leans a little bit more towards middle of the road, maybe below middle of the road because of the spin and price. As far as power went, I think it has more pop than a raw carbon fiber paddle, so you do have adequate power. I never really felt like in hands battles or overheads that it was lacking. One thing I will say is on drives, because of the lack of spin, I found that I had to hit much more flat and I couldn't be quite as aggressive with the drive because otherwise it was just gonna go out. So yeah, if you like their mission and the sustainability, then go ahead and buy this paddle. But otherwise, if you're strictly looking at performance, I wouldn't personally recommend it.